So as I keep saying, dictionaries are a type of data structure just like lists, and they are also mutable objects. So just like lists, we can now remove a particular item from a dictionary. Now, do you remember the pop method? Well, we can use it with dictionaries too. So this method removes an item based on the specified key that you provide, and it then returns the value. So let's see an example. We'll take our dictionary that we created in the last video. So as you can see, we have apple that costs 49p, banana 69p, bread £2.50, and pear 99p. Now, seeing as we're using the pop method, we can access it using dot notation on the object itself. So we can put my_dict, then we can place the dot, then we can put pop with a set of parentheses. Now, if I quickly take a look at the documentation, you can see here that it removes a specified key and returns the corresponding value. So what do you think we should be providing inside these parentheses? Well, it's the key name. So let's say we wanted to remove the item which has the key bread. We simply need to pass in bread into the parentheses. Now when we do this, it returns the value of the item. So when we run this, we can see that we obtain £2.50. Now because it returns a value, I am able to store this value inside of a variable if we wanted to use it in another part of our code. Now if the key that you provide is not found, and you only provide one argument into the pop method, a key error is raised. However, there is a way that we can avoid the key error by passing in a second argument into the parentheses. So the first argument will be the key that you are searching for. So let's, in this example, put butter. Now because we know butter doesn't exist, if we left it at this point, we would run into a key error as seen on screen. However, if I pass in a second argument, this will then return the second value if the key is not found. So if we were to say return 50p if the key is not found, you can see now because butter is not found, we return 50p. So this is a way of avoiding the key error by returning back a value of choice. Now there is another pop method that we can use with the dictionary, which is called pop item. And the pop item method can be used to return an item from the dictionary. And the item returned will be the last in the dictionary. So if I was to rerun the original dictionary, so we have the full dictionary stored in my_dict, if I now type my_dict, then place the dot, and then put pop item, and then a set of parentheses. When we run this method, you can see that we return the item with the key pear and the value as 99p. If I were to run the pop item method again, we return the item with the key bread and the value £2.50. So this is a way of being able to remove an item and return it as a tuple. Now moving on, as we also saw with the list data structure, all items can be removed at once by using the clear method. So if we reset our dictionary, we can then put my_dict, we can then place a dot, and then we can put clear with a set of parentheses. This will remove all items from the dictionary, but it will not delete the dictionary in its entirety. So we can still access the my_dict variable as a dictionary object and place items in it later down the line, but after the clear method is executed, there will be nothing stored in that dictionary. Now in a similar vein, we also looked at the del keyword with the list object. And unsurprisingly, we can use the del keyword when working with dictionaries. So we can remove individual items by accessing them first. So let's refresh our dictionary. And the first thing we're going to do is access the key apple. So we can put my_dict, we can place square brackets, and inside the square brackets we can pass the key apple. Now once we're happy with the item that we've selected, we can just proceed this with the del keyword. When we now look at my_dict, we can see that apple has been removed from the dictionary. Now we can also use the del keyword to delete the entire dictionary itself. So if we were to now put del and then follow this with my_dict, which represents the complete dictionary object, when we now try to look in my_dict, you can see that we run into a name error, stating that name my_dict is not defined, which makes sense because we've deleted the entire variable which contained the dictionary object. So we can no longer reference this variable in our code. So we use very similar methods and syntax used with lists to remove items from a dictionary. Practice creating a dictionary and deleting items accordingly. Remember, the pop method will remove an item but return the value associated with that item, which you can then store in a variable and use later on. If you use the pop item method, this will remove the item and return it as a tuple, and it will remove an arbitrary item which is at the end of the dictionary. You can use the del keyword by specifying a specific item that you want to delete and precede the key that you've accessed with the del keyword. You can also delete the list in its entirety using del and then the variable name, or if you wanted to still be able to access the dictionary object and add items to it later, you can clear all items from the dictionary by using the clear method, which will mean that your dictionary object stored in the variable will still be accessible later down the line.